Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your man Alex back again with another video. This video right here is a response to Mondo Squilito. Check the description, for the link. And he made a video not too long ago asking the question, what is your favorite decade in movies? And my favorite decade, hands down, is the 80s. I just feel like the 80s was a magical time in movies. It was fun. In the 80s, you had all of these iconic characters come out like Indiana Jones, RoboCop, and the Terminator, and the Predator. And the 80s had remakes, and they were good remakes. Remakes where the people redid it, and it's like they cared about the material and they wanted to make something cool. Movies like The Fly and The Blob and The Thing and Invaders from Mars. I love that movie right there. I feel like if you were a horror fan in the 80s, you had a great time because horror movies in that time period, horror movies thrived. There was a lot of horror movies coming out at the cinema, coming out to the theater. You had these horror movie franchises that came out with multiple movies, it seemed like, every year. How many movies did John Williams do the score to in the 80s? Now, Pete came up with 5 movies. His favorite decade in movies was the 70s. And he came up with 5 movies that he would recommend, or 5 movies that he liked from that decade. I had such a difficult time trying to come up with 5 movies. When you sit there and you come up with 5 and you're like, oh, I don't want to leave that movie out, or oh, what about that movie? I had such a hard time, so I just picked 5 movies. 5 movies that had something that was going on in 80s movies. With this first movie, American Werewolf in London. Now, the reason why I chose this movie is practical effects. Today we got all this CGI computer animated stuff, and I think this movie came out in 1981, and the practical effects, the makeup effects in this movie are brilliant. Rick Baker did the effects, and the scene where David is transforming into the wolf, you look at that now, however many years later this is, you look at that now and it's like, dang. It's like, man, that looks real. That holds up even today. It looks real. And there's nothing computer animated about it at all. It's just people, doing little effects tricks, doing making the film go in reverse to make it look like the hair is growing long, or you got somebody pushing out the face, to make the face, grow out long, and you got his friend is, rotten, and he looks all nasty, and this movie has great practical effects, and that's something that went on in the 80s. Great, practical effects. It's kind of rare now. I mean, people still do it, but it's everything is so computer animated. I mean, even blood. That, to me, that's lazy. If you got a scene where blood is shooting out and it's computer blood, to me that's lazy. That's just lazy. Now, this next movie that I chose is, The Breakfast Club. I chose this movie because of a couple different things, like John Hughes. John Hughes came out with all these great movies in the 80s. A lot of great teen movies, like Weird Science and 16 Candles and Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And this movie, also had the Brat Pack. These characters. You had Anthony Michael Hall and Molly Ringwald, Ali Sheedy, Judd Nelson. These people were in multiple movies together. A lot of teen movies, and this is just a great movie right here. I love this. John Hughes just did an excellent job, and he's gone. For my third movie, I gotta pull out Commando. And the reason why is because in the 80s, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the action star of action stars. I mean, there were other ones out there like Stallone. Stallone was a great action star. You got Van Damme, and a few other people, but Arnold Schwarzenegger was the man when it came to action movies back then. And you know, I just feel like Commando. This isn't my favorite Schwarzenegger movie. It could be a close second, but uh, I feel like Commando is the quintessential Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. This movie is so over the top, all the one-liners in the movie, and it has all the outrageous, unbelievable things that he does, like jumping from airplanes and taking out whole armies by himself. And this movie, I love this movie right here. I mean, it's just fun, dumb action, and it's just a good time. Uh, Arnold is the man. Okay, now this next movie that I gotta roll with is The Toxic Avenger. Now, the reason why I chose this movie is because um, this movie, according to according to great filmmaking, this is not a great movie at all. You know, if you want to talk about technical stuff and acting and things like that, but if you can ignore all of that technical stuff and things like this is a really fun, entertaining movie, and I feel like there are tons of movies in the 80s that are cheesy, that are bad acted, and things like that, but they're fun to watch. Cheesy movies that are fun to watch, and you can sit down with people and be entertained. I mean, there are tons of movies in the 80s like that, movies that you didn't have to take real serious. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, is another type of movie like that. You can have uh, a bad movie, I guess. I don't know if bad is the word I want to use, but you can have a movie that's cheesy and bad in the 80s, and it'd be fun and entertaining. You can enjoy it, and it's a movie you could watch over and over because there's something charming about it. Movies today, when they're bad, they're just bad. They're just bad, and you feel like you wasted your money, and it's like, why did I just waste my money going to see this or renting this movie? But the 80s, you can look back on the 80s and pull out, movies like this and be like, oh man, that's great. I had a fun time watching it. And The Toxic Avenger is one of those movies. It's goofy, and it plays that same music throughout the whole movie. That do 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 do. Do 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 do. Y'all know what I'm talking about if you've seen the movie. But Toxic Avenger, great. It may not be great according to like great filmmaking stuff, but this is a great movie if you just want to have fun and sit back and chill and just watch a movie. Now for the fifth movie that I chose it because I feel like there's no way you can talk about 80s movies and not mention this movie. There's just no way, to me anyway, and that's Back to the Future. There is no way that you can talk about the 80s in film and not talk about this movie. Now earlier I said something about the 80s being I felt like it was a magical time in movies. And Back to the Future is one of those movies that I feel just has this magical aura about it, and uh, it's just so many great memories from this movie. I remember my mom took me to see this 7 times in the theater. It could be more. That's when theaters were cheap. It was like $3 for a matinee. Today it's like $8. But Back to the Future, just a great story. Got really cool special effects for its time that even to me I think hold up today to today. Great characters, great dialogue. And it's one of those movies that it just makes you feel good. At the end of the movie, I swear this is one of those movies when the credits pop on, when the DeLorean flies into the camera and the credits pop on and that Huey Lewis song comes on. It just makes you feel good and you just want to start clapping. The 80s, I love the 80s. I love the 80s movies. I love the 80s music. I love just all kinds of stuff about the 80s. And I'm just happy that I was able to grow up during that decade, and to be able to grow up watching those movies that I did. And you know, to come up with just 5 movies, that's a hard task right there. So I'm gonna just leave you with a whole bunch of movies at the end of this video. I'm gonna just bust it. Just roll clip. I'll see y'all in the next video, but don't forget to check the link in the description. And here's a bunch of movies from the 80s for you that I just don't have time to talk about. So roll that. Can you say an 80s slasher?